Hi, my name is Morgan Byrne, and welcome to the session, The Wonders of Padlet. This is a recording of the session that was available during our Fall 2026 in-service. You can also access this video and other information from our Fall 2026 in-service on the Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning's YouTube channel. During this session, we're going to be covering the following. We're going to explore Padlet resources and opportunities. You're going to have the information that you need to build your own Padlet, and we're going to talk about how you can integrate Padlet into your courses. So these are our session outcomes. You'll be able to do all of these by the conclusion of this session. So let's go ahead and start at the beginning. What is Padlet? It's entirely possible that you attended our summer symposium during the summer of 2026 and you heard a bit about Padlet from our presenters from Marshall University, or you may be entirely new to it, like I was. So I'm going to walk you through what Padlet is. In short, it's a startup company, but in terms of what it can do for education, especially online education, if we're looking at LMS like Blackboard, there's a whole lot more that it can get into. It's not just a company, it's a fantastic place to get resources for your courses. So let's go ahead and define Padlet before we do anything else, outside of it just being a startup. Padlets are visual collaboration tools for creative work and education. And we've got a variety of different kinds of Padlets that you can create. There are boards to collect, organize, and present content. A sandbox, which is like a whiteboard that you can use for students to write on together. And you can also use these to present lessons and activities. Really big emphasis on it being interactive. And then the Padlet Arcade, where you can generate interactive learning games for your students. And the good thing about Padlet is very similar to Kahoot. It can be used for any age groups. So we're, of course, focusing on collegiate level work, everything from our dual enrollment students to our non-traditional students, but you can also use this for other demographics as well, which in that makes it super accessible, super engaging, etc., because it is bright and it's fun, but also more importantly, allows you to do a little bit more than a traditional discussion board. Not to say that discussion boards aren't effective, they certainly can be, especially if you've got the right prompts, but they're not the end-all be-all, and it's good to have additional opportunities for learning, especially in those online courses, because we want to be thinking about regular and substantive interaction. And as such, that's not just you as the instructor communicating with your learners, it's also the learners communicating with one another, working together. And that can be really hard to establish in an online class, especially on a regular and substantive basis. So this collaborative element here for creative work and also education really helps to kind of put Padlet over those more traditional discussion board elements. So let's go ahead and continue our overview. Each Padlet can upload content in a variety of formats, and contributions or posts to the Padlet page can include images, videos, audio, and written text. I'm going to add in here too, and I'll show you this in a moment, Padlets can also include like emoji responses, and when students are responding to Padlets, like inside a given Padlet, if they're responding to posts, it does look a little bit like social media. And we know that typically our students are really good at navigating social media. So this is an interface that they are familiar with. Students can post with their name or anonymously, and faculty can set up specific parameters for certain posts, including whether or not new posts start at the beginning or go all the way to the bottom. We know that in Blackboard, discussion boards, especially in Ultra, are kind of like an endless scroll of stuff, and it's pretty easy for things to get buried. You can set certain specifications within Padlet to prevent that. Each Padlet can be public or private, and students can access that Padlet via link or QR code provided by the professor. With LTI integration, which is our goal, it's as easy as making a content page in Blackboard. Now, as of doing this recording, we did have 20 group participants from in-service say that they do want to use Padlet, so we definitely met our goal, and we're excited to begin working on that LTI integration. But as of recording this on August 20th, 2026, it has not yet been set up, so I am going to show you what the free version looks like, just in case. Okay, so let's talk about reasons to use Padlet. Our librarian really wants it, and she's fantastic. That should be enough. But let's get into the other elements here. Again, we are supporting regular and substantive interaction, but it can be a challenge. And that's not because the instructors aren't good at their jobs. It's not because you don't know what you're doing. It's because online courses take you out of that room. You can't look a student in the eyes and say, "What do you think about this?" You can't, count off in groups of 3 or 4 and then have them discuss in class. You can use Blackboard groups. We'll have a video up on our YouTube channel, the CETL's YouTube channel, about Blackboard groups soon, but it's not the same, right? So Padlets really help to address that RSI issue because Padlets allow for synchronous and asynchronous interaction. So it's great for face-to-face, it's great for online, and it's great for flex classes. How many of you have taught a course where you've got some engagement going on in that in-person group in your classroom, but you're looking at Zoom or Teams or whatever it is that you are using, and it's pretty hard to see whether or not the students online are as engaged as the folks in person. Padlets are a great way to ensure that everybody's working together because we do want to make sure that we're not just catering to the students that are coming in person. If it's a flex class, those students that are online, they should get that same level of interaction and engagement. It's absorbing and visually appealing. They're really, really fun. I'll show you what they look like here in a moment. And it really breaks away from the standard text-based interaction and allows for creativity and personality to shine through. We know that students not only want to, demonstrate that they have a voice, but they need to. They need to feel like there is a stake in what they're doing, and allowing them to kind of handle certain things the way that they would want to within the course parameters does make them feel like they have a bit more stake in what they're doing. And then finally, student comfort and engagement. Padlet provides SSO, so students and faculty alike can use our existing accounts. So students feel comfortable in a virtual environment that is more socially based. They can post as themselves or anonymously per their comfort level and based on class requirements. So there are a couple other layers here that might make students feel a little bit more comfortable compared to posting in a standard discussion board. Let's say that you are talking about a subject matter that's maybe a little tense, right? And it's an online class, and you've got students who really have a lot that they want to say within class parameters. Whenever you're doing a discussion, please make sure that you are considering what's going to be effective and what's not when you're facilitating that dialogue. We have a video on facilitating meaningful dialogue here on the YouTube channel. But once you've set that up, a student might really disagree with what another student is saying, but maybe they don't feel comfortable enough to express that. Giving them the opportunity to post anonymously can give them that chance to really have that dialogue without feeling like they're, exposed for doing so. Again, as long as they're working within set parameters for your course. No one should be name calling, no one should be inappropriate. But healthy discussion, healthy discourse is good. So we've got lots of Padlet potential here. Please ignore that typo. Obviously RSI, so replacing discussion boards with those interactive media boards. Interactive annotations. This is a really big one for our English folks in particular, and history, really just our liberal arts and transfer studies people as a whole. So Padlets allow you to have students annotate documents asynchronously, which is great. And when you set up your Padlet, you can set them up based on, they're called cards. In Blackboard Ultra, it would be like groups. And so you can assign a text for a group or a card in your course to evaluate. So if you've got 25 students in an online class and you've got this essay and it's got some issues that you want students to note so that they can not make that mistake in their own work, you can assign 3 or 4 people to the same document and they can annotate that together, which is very similar to what you might do in an in-person class. So they still get that interaction, they still get to actively annotate, but they can do it asynchronously. For internships, we have a lot of programs here at Mount West that do have an internship or externship component. So they create an interactive place for communication between internship supervisor, student, and faculty supervisor. There's one specific kind of Padlet. I love it. It's just a corkboard, and it's like a little message board. You can post and share information. In fact, our learning community for Padlet here at Mount West, our little cohort here, we will have a bespoke Padlet just for all of the faculty to share with each other and communicate and talk about what's working and what's not. And it's a great way to keep that consistency and to make sure to, gauge some of that information, see how the student's doing, see how the employer feels or supervisor feels about the student performance, all in one location, just like a standard corkboard. Next, we have study groups. Students can create their own study groups, upload documents, and do collaborative work. So this session primarily focuses on faculty creating Padlets, exploring the site, integrating it into Blackboard, but students can do this as well. But again, we're primarily just focusing on what faculty are working on. And then finally, portfolios. Have students create portfolios they can share with future and potential employers. So when we're thinking about, again, that corkboard, that whiteboard, a space where they can post all of their information and then demonstrate what they have learned, Padlet's a great way to do that. So, for example, during the session during in-service, one of our culinary arts professors said, well, we tend to do a portfolio where they document all of the dishes they make throughout the program. Padlet would be a really good way to document that. They would have not only the text, but also the images, and all of that would be in one place. And this is just one use case in which portfolios would be a really great utilization for something like Padlet. So, we've done a lot of talking about potential examples, RSI, etc. Let's actually check out the website. So Padlet is super easy to access. You're just going to go to padlet.com, and just for the sake of ease, I'll go ahead and just show you what that looks like if you go through Google. So we have Padlet. You're just going to go to https://padlet.com, and you're going to click on that link. It's going to be right here. So this is taking me to my homepage because I already have an account. You will need to create an account first. Remember, it is free if we do not yet have LTI. Once we have the LTI integrated into Blackboard, we will actually have our own separate session. Someone from Padlet will help to facilitate that. But for right now, we're just talking about the free version. So in the free version, which we will, have the paid version eventually, but in this space where we're still focusing on the free version, very similar to Notebook LM, you get 3 freebies. And then after that, you do have that cutoff. So you can see that I made a Padlet about 2 weeks ago that I'm going to be integrating into my English 101E course. I am going to make 2 other Padlets this week, probably today, to make sure to get those integrated before we get the LTI stuff up and running. And then if those 3 go really well, I'm going to create additional Padlets. But before we talk about these examples, let's go ahead and just go to the gallery. So in the gallery, we've got lots and lots of information, and we can create things like a book map, book reviews, a brainstorming board, all kinds of stuff. And the reason it's set up this way is, well, we can see that there are a lot of different groups over here on the left-hand side where, some of this is going to be created for children. Let's say that we only want higher education. We do get a little bit more specific. So we have things like compare and contrast. That might be relevant to an English class, a map of an article, sorting evidence, etc. So let's say that I want a Padlet pertaining to sorting evidence. This is going to give me an example of what this might look like, and then I can hit that create button, and I can utilize this pre-made template to start putting this thing together. Now, let's say that I'm not super crazy about the templates, and I will note there are others outside of education. There's also business and personal, so lots of stuff that you can do. Very similar to Canva in that way, but let's say I don't really want to do that. I'd rather create my own. I can do that by clicking the Make a Padlet button, and that's going to bring me to 3 different options. Currently, I am on Start from Scratch. I cannot stress this enough. Starting from scratch is not difficult. The UI, the user interface, is super, super simple. I was really nervous when I had it pitched to me at first because I was going to be presenting on it and assisting on some things here soon. And I was like, I got to know how everything works, and what if it's difficult? It's not. So if I can do it on a super quick turnaround, you can definitely do it. So here in the Start from Scratch section, we have a wall. Think of that as your corkboards, your whiteboard, stuff like that. We have columns, so you can actually set the specific columns. I want to make sure that we're looking at distinctions between the wall and the columns. In a wall, people can click post and it's just going to go. up on that corkboard, that whiteboard, whatever. For the columns section, you actually have to create the bespoke columns. So they're themed to whatever it is that you are looking to do within those columns. You can create a table, just like you would create a table in Blackboard, like a rubric, things of that nature. You can create a timeline or a map. The maps in particular are really, really neat. But let's start basic. We'll focus on the wall. Now, if you want a wall, but you're a little nervous about what this is going to look like, maybe you want some assistance. If I hit over here on the left-hand side, recipes, recipes are pre-made, so they are down here at the bottom. So we have contemporary artist map, class appreciation, compliment board, research projects, etc. So again, if you don't want to build from scratch, you don't have to. I'm going to go ahead and open this one here. So here is my research project. You can see it's set to the columns option. And if I want to change the title, I can. All I have to do is click on it, which is super, super easy. Most of the editing functions operate that way. And I've got my instructions over here. Let's say that I want to edit this. I'm just going to hit that edit button. I can change anything that I want to change. So I'm going to include my instructions here. And the instructions for this one are as follows. Click on the link to review the checklist of what should be included in your brochure. Watch the video and reflect together with your group using the discussion questions, and then use Padlet to collect resources or ideas you will use for your brochure. There's one resource already linked to get you started. So if I'm making a brochure about several of these, columns, and I'm working in groups, this is just a repository. It's a place to put stuff in terms of ocean predators, the midnight zone, kelp forests, coral reefs, etc. I don't teach this class, but I'm going to guess that these groups were assigned one of these four. So everybody assigned to kelp forests is going to put their resources about kelp forests in this section. And all they have to do is hit that little plus button. They can also, when a student is ready to actually put their post together, you'll see that post button down here in the bottom right corner. They'll hit post, and that's going to help them do the exact same thing as this little plus icon right here. So super, super simple if we want to do a recipe. But again, we're operating under the assumption that we do not. You can also use an AI recipe as well, that you'll have artificial intelligence, generative artificial intelligence, help you to put one of these together. But let's say we want a wall. We're going to put a wall together. Okay, so you have your default name for your Padlet. Obviously, we will want to change that. We're going to do that over here on the right. So you're going to insert your title here, and then you're going to choose your format. We have it set to wall, but again, you can do columns, just like the example I showed you. If you want to do a grid, if you want to do a free form, however you want. I encourage you to explore, but again, we're starting basic. So we're going with a wall. So in this section, we're good. But I don't know about you, this is a pretty background, but it's really, really bright. And unless all of my text is black, which it might be, if it's not though, it's going to be really, really hard to see stuff. So let's say that I want to make some changes. I'm going to go to this little gear button up here, open my settings, and I can change all kinds of stuff. Right now, my color scheme is set to light. I can change it to dark. I can change my font. I can change my post size. Maybe I want it to be a little bit wider. I can change my format. Let's say that you chose wall initially, but now you hate it. You'd really rather have columns, much more organized. You can select columns. Very, very easy to do. You can sort where a new post goes. Right now, new posts are set to go last. In Blackboard Ultra, new posts go to the top. How do you personally want that ordered? And then there's our wallpaper for this section right here. And you can see too, all of it is kind of an infinite scroll. So you can get through each of these by just scrolling, but you can also click on the different areas to move further down as you see fit. So we're going to start and focus on appearance. That part's pretty easy. So for the wallpaper, maybe we just want a standard color background. We'll just hit that color. Maybe we want a gradient like this. We'll hit that button. Or maybe we want it a little bit textured. What if you want your students to post on a piece of plywood? Or a little themed picnic blanket, perhaps? Or there is that cork board that I talked about before. Let's say you want the cork board. We'll go ahead and start with that. So we've got our title, we've got our corkboard. And let's say that we want our students to share their resources in their group, whatever, here in this Padlet. What they're going to do to post is they're going to come down here to this bottom right corner and they're going to hit post. And preferably you will do this first. That way they have your Padlet, your post to look at in the Padlet before they create their own. So you're going to include a little message. Maybe that's just hello, or maybe it's something like instructions, but be clear, just like a subject line of an email. And you can include, I can upload an image. You can take a picture if you're on mobile. If you're on a desktop, it's going to make that a little bit easier, or a little bit harder, rather. You can generate an AI image. You can include a hyperlink, and you can image search if you would like. And if you want to see all of the tools available to you when you create this little header here, we just hit our all tools button. So lots of different opportunities. Let's say that I am going to make this easy. I just want to upload an image. What pictures do I have on my computer? Let's say that I am talking about cooking. I'll go back to my culinary arts example, and I'm just going to use Sanji from One Piece because he's a chef. That makes sense to me. You should include a caption. The caption doesn't have to be super long. I might just include something like Sanji from One Piece laughing and smoking a cigarette. Okay. And then in the section here that says write something fantastic, you are going to insert your instructions. Now, again, this is an example. If this was actually an instructions post, I would include, like the example we just saw, the rubric or something else. This is just a default what something might look like. All right, so I've got my instructions, I've got my title, I've got my little image here. I'm going to hit post, or publish, rather. And it's going to go right here in the middle. Now, as other posts are added, you're going to see lots of other things, but right now, it's just this first one. Now, if a student wants to reply to a post, they're going to do this little option here that says add comment, and all they have to do is click on it. They might say, so cute, because he is cute. And that's it. And you can add another comment, or a student can add another comment. If I want to add a little emoji, it'll give me a whole library of emojis, and it'll do the same for students too. Let's say that I am interested in, maybe I want a heart. Yeah, I'll do a blue one. Super, super simple. So, and you can see, again, a lot like social media. Now, let's say that you screw something up and you are like, I hate this actually, I need this thing gone. I'm going to hit these three dots in the upper right of my post, and then I'm going to hit delete. And then it's gone. Incredibly easy. Again, I encourage you to explore Padlet. We'd be here for hours if I got into all of the finer details of using Padlet. But before we're finished, I do want to show you in the home section an actual Padlet that I have launched here in Blackboard. So you can see that I made a background that's like posters from a club or something like that. And I say made, I pulled it over from Unsplash. But in this, you can see that I've included an image, which is relevant to what the students are asked to do in Blackboard. And I'll show you what this looks like in Blackboard here in a moment. And this also includes that it's an example post, who it's from, and I've written, I'm excited to see your contributions to this conversation, though I'll refrain from answering questions 1 and 2, as I want to read what you have to say. I will note that my favorite song is Dreams by Van Halen, and if I were to write a soundscape, it would absolutely be included. I first heard it in a Power Rangers movie when I was a child, and its central through line of keeping faith and believing through love and friendship that things will get better is now a crucial part of who I am as a person, because that's germane to the question they're asked in Blackboard. So if we're looking at Blackboard, I'm going to go ahead and go into my master shell, because I already have it launched here. I'm going to go into my lesson materials, and this is in my storytelling and voice of experience section. So we're moving. There are my videos. Here is the reading they do that's associated with this Padlet. And then finally, here is the Padlet. So they can go ahead and launch this bad boy right here. Now, remember, once we have the LTI integrated into Blackboard Ultra, they'll be able to do it within Blackboard Ultra, but we're working with the free version right now. So if you're watching this video, maybe you're even from another institution and you are thinking, well, we don't have the license. They can still launch it from Blackboard. It's not ideal because we do want our students to not have to go through a bunch of endless clicks to get access to what they need to do, but it is an option once it is included here. And students too, if they want to post, they can hit post and they can do that part right here if they don't feel like launching it outside of Blackboard. So that's super exciting. All right, so let's go ahead and hop back into our slides here. So we talked about building our own Padlet. So you create your account, quick, free, painless. But again, you only get those 3 versions if we don't have the LTI integration. Then you're going to make your own Padlet, either starting from scratch like we just did, using an AI recipe, or using one of the banked recipes that were created by a member of their team. Choose your style, walls, columns, tables, a map, what have you. You're going to build that content like I showed you, and then you're going to share it. So you're going to use that share button, and it is up here in your upper right corner. So you're going to hit share. You're going to select embed. And then that is the code that you want. So I'm going to copy that. And then let's say that hypothetically I did want to edit this section of Blackboard. I would hit my purple line here, select HTML, copy, and then there she is, ready to go. Now, of course, I already have 2 here, so I am going to go ahead and delete that one. But it is that simple, which is super, super easy. We really appreciate it. However, we can be added to our Blackboard content market. And again, hopefully by the time you are watching this, we've been able to do so. Here is another reminder of several different things that you can do with Padlet. You can do a bell ringer activity. You can do exit tickets and have them all post to Padlet, something that they learned that day. Video collections are super cool. There are a lot of examples on the site of different ways in which you can collect videos, which are especially great for communications classes in particular. Speech class can be really difficult to do in an online asynchronous way, and especially when it comes to creating community for folks who are ostensibly supposed to be watching and listening to each other. They can do that in Padlet because everyone's videos would be in one place. And again, here is my Padlet. This is what she looks like. And it was, to emphasize, really, really, really easy to make. Jamie, our wonderful librarian, utilizes the annotation tool. So in order to replace the standard or boring introduction post, she has her students post what they want in terms of like similar interests or memes, and she does that in the first Padlet. Taken a screenshot over here, and that is in a corkboard. So she's got a meme and then a quote that resonates with them. And then for asynchronous group work, there's a lot of setup there, and it helps to make sure that the students are able to talk directly and interact with one another under faculty supervision, right? You don't want to launch a Padlet and then not check on what's going on in said Padlet. But these students, because she's able to set those groups, can then evaluate the different sections of that document together as if they were doing so in an in-person class. Okay, so integrating into your courses, here are written instructions for what I just showed you. You create a document in Blackboard, you select that HTML icon, you select that share button at the top right of your Padlet, and then you add it to that HTML box in Ultra, and then click outside of the box and save it. That is all you have to do. You can also grade in Padlet without the LTI. My hope is that, again, you don't have to do that, but Padlet does allow you to grade within Blackboard, or within the board itself, rather, and give students feedback directly on their posts. You can then download an Excel file and upload it to the Blackboard gradebook, but you need to reformat the columns and information to match Blackboard, and our librarian, as she states, not a fan. I'm not a fan either. And then for the assignment in Blackboard, a workaround, because without the LTI, we can't set it as an assignment in Blackboard. It's really just an added resource. You can create an assignment in Blackboard that is essentially a submission box and have students complete or submit a message saying completed after they've posted. You will have to cross-reference the Padlet to make sure everything is, copacetic. But it is a cleaner version than that Excel upload, so I would highly recommend this as well. Again, to recap, that is, you create an exercise, you post the Padlet, like I just showed you. Instead of putting it in a document on Blackboard, you put it in an exercise, and then once students have posted, they post the word complete and hit submit in that text box that they're provided in Blackboard. So that's the workaround, but hopefully as you are watching this, you're good to go, and we've already got that in there. So our step 1, right, was to get our instructors, to get them to 10. We got 20 during our session, so we're in a really good spot. So we are currently in the process, as I record this, of purchasing our Padlet license. It will be its own learning community, so beyond incorporating at least one Padlet into the course, the only other requirement would be providing feedback on use and experience in a form at the end of the semester, so that we can gather data on how students perceive it, what student engagement looks like. Do they like it? Do they not like it? How can we improve it? Do we want to buy the license again? And then once we have those initial 10 users, something that's really cool is we can add others as necessary without paying more money, which is super exciting. I have several people that said, I might be interested, but I'm a little cautious. I just got started. I don't know that I want to use this new tool I heard of today when it's going to be my first time in the classroom next week, which is fine. But if after their first semester they think, okay, I'm still thinking about Padlet, I really, really want to use it, we can then add them on at no extra cost. And several of the participants from this learning community will be sharing what they learned in our January 2027 in-service. So this was the moment where we asked if anybody wanted to join us. And again, we got a lot of people that were interested in joining us on our Padlet journey. So super, super excited. And again, hopefully by the time you're seeing this, everything is good to go. In the meantime, though, if you have questions, comments, concerns, contact our Center for Excellence in Teaching and Learning. We are always happy to help you with whatever resources you may need. And if there is some other resource we don't have, unrelated to Padlet, that you think, oh gosh, I wish we had this, shoot me an email. Again, my name is Morgan Byrne, and you can contact me using my MCTC email, which I'm maybe not going to include in this video that's public, but if you're seeing this video, you know how to get my email. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.